Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for being here this great morning here at USDA in Washington, D.C. I especially want to thank my colleagues from the administration, Secretary Pete Hegseth, Attorney General Pam Bondi, Secretary Kristi Noem, Counselor to the President Peter Navarro, the incredible governors who joined us today from Arkansas and from Tennessee and from Nebraska, whom you'll hear from. Amazing members of Congress that are here with us. You'll get to hear from Senator Tuberville, Senator Marshall, and Congressman G.T. Thompson. We also have leaders with us here in the audience from Alabama, from Arkansas, from Florida, Kansas, Nebraska, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Texas, and West Virginia, who have joined us for this historic rollout to address one of the most significant national security threats facing our nation. But first, I want to say that we gather together at a moment when the power of nature is rendered especially vivid to us. The floods in my native Texas, which have carried away so many lives, many of whom my family knew, has caused so much heartbreak and brought so many tears. It touches every one of us, not just those of us from the Lone Star State, but every American who cares about their neighbor, and especially every parent whose heart reposes not within themselves, but within their own children. It is not within our power to ease their pain, nor should those most devastating losses be erased or eased, but what we can do is grieve alongside them, and I know that's what we are all doing. And we can also join them in a sorrow that honors the joy of their children's and their family members' lives. It is not and has never been God's purpose that we suffer, but it is within His design that we rely upon His creation. We see that in extraordinary natural tragedy as over the last few days, but we also see it in the beneficial fruits of His creation, the bounty of the land, the yield of our farms, the produce and the product of our labor. That dependency upon His goodness is part of His purpose. And so as stewards of creation, we have an obligation to protect it. In protecting it, we protect ourselves, and that's why we're here today. Nowhere is this illuminated more vividly than in the stewardship and conservation of our American farmlands. We're here to talk about that today, and we're here to address one particular facet of that stewardship, responding to one particular type of threat. The plain reality is that American agriculture in American hands is a positive good, a rich blessing that we carefully tend and upon which rests the sustenance and future of our republic. Every family, every home, every community depends upon what our farmers do, and they support and sustain us, not merely by keeping us materially fed, but by keeping us spiritually strong. The farm's produce is not just a commodity, it is a way of life that underpins America itself. And that's exactly why it is under threat from criminals, from political adversaries, and from hostile regimes that understand our way of life as a profound and existential threat to themselves. For them, agricultural lands and our farms, because they are a previous inheritance, are weapons to be turned against us. We see it again and again, from Chinese communist acquisition of American farmland to criminal exploitation of our system of agriculture to the theft of operational information required to work the land and beyond. All of this takes what is profoundly good and turns it towards evil purposes. But November 2024 signaled it's time for our federal government to wake up and step up, and that's exactly what we are doing under the leadership of President Donald Trump. With this announcement today, we are taking this purpose and our American farmland back. American agriculture is not just about feeding our families, but about protecting our nation and standing up to foreign adversaries who are buying our farmland, stealing our research, and creating dangerous vulnerabilities in the very systems that sustain us. Reshoring and nearshoring our food and agriculture supply chain is essential for our nation's security. In coordination with the White House, the Departments of Treasury, Defense, Homeland Security, and Justice, as well as state governors, state agriculture commissioners, local, tribal, and territorial governments, today we announced the USDA's National Farm Security Action Plan. This plan includes 7 key action items, and there's a lot of people here that I want you to hear from, so I'm not going to go one by one, but just very quickly. It's on our website. The press has gotten a preview of it, and we can ask some questions once we finish the main program. But very quickly, and perhaps the most important, the first of the 7, is securing and protecting American farmland ownership. Actively engaging at every level of government to take swift legislative and executive action to ban the purchase of American farmland by Chinese nationals and other foreign adversaries. Standing on the shoulders of great governors, 3 of whom are standing behind me, who have already been leading the way on this issue. And at the federal government level, working to do everything within our ability, including presidential authorities, to claw back what has already been purchased by China and other foreign adversaries. Additionally, working with the Treasury of the Secretary of the Treasury, along with our Defense Department, on memorandums to ensure that moving forward, there is a much more intentional look at who is buying what in this country and from where they are in the world. Also enhancing our agricultural supply chain resilience, also protecting our U.S. nutrition safety net from fraud and foreign exploitation. Number 4, defending agricultural research and innovation. No more sweetheart deals and secret pacts with countries that do not have our best interests in mind. Number 5, making sure that America First is in every USDA program, from farm loans to food safety. We have already canceled 7 active agreements with entities in foreign countries of concern and will continue to cancel additional agreements moving forward. I signed a memo today, thank you, which immediately removes 70 citizens from countries of concerns that currently are affiliated with the USDA through contracts or research arrangements. And we are working to issue regulatory action to remove over 550 entities from foreign countries of concern from our preferred catalog. Number 6, safeguarding plant and animal health, working to make sure that we know what is coming in and how to control animal diseases. And number 7, protecting critical infrastructure from our farms and our food and our supply chains, again, along with so many partners across this government here in Washington and across our states. Now, please help me welcome to the podium the amazing Secretary Pete Hegseth. Thank you all.
Well, Brooke, thank you so much for your incredible leadership on this issue. It's an honor to be here. It's a very important one. I think we're all here for 2 basic reasons. One, under President Trump's leadership, we're going to put America first. We have America, American land, American basing, American troops, American citizens. You have a Secretary of Homeland Security who cares about Homeland Security. You have an attorney, imagine that. You have an Attorney General that cares about justice. You have a Secretary of the Agriculture that cares about our farmland and our farmers. You have governors who've led the way, and senators and congressmen who now have reinforcements from an America First movement that it's about America First, but it's also just the application of common sense. As someone who's charged with leading the Defense Department, I want to know who owns the land around our bases and strategic bases, and getting an understanding of why foreign entities, foreign companies, foreign individuals might be buying up land around those bases. That's something I should be paying attention to on behalf of the American people, on behalf of my department, and on behalf of the President. It's common sense. And so food security, just like energy resilience, just like where we get our water, that's all national security, especially in a contingency. So we would be asleep at the wheel if we were not fully a party to an effort like this to ensure that our nation had the food supply it needs. But specifically, our troops have what they need on our bases, so that in those moments you can rely on us here in the United States to provide that security. So no longer can foreign adversaries assume we're not watching. and we're not paying attention, and we're not doing something about it because we are. So, Brooke, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Please help me welcome to the podium to speak of the agro-terrorism threats our incredible Attorney General, Pam Bondi.
Thank you all, and we know Texas is your home state. Secretary Rollins, our hearts go out to all those in Texas and the families, as well as in North Carolina, who are also experiencing those horrible floods. We're so happy to be here today to protect our farmers, our ranchers, and our ag community. Under President Trump, we are proudly putting our farmers first again. Thank you to our Congress, our governors, all of the great people who have gathered here today. My job is to make America safe again, which includes protecting our farmers who feed our families. The Department of Justice will use every tool at our disposal to secure, defend, and protect our ag community from threats. Our Environmental and Natural Resources Division has successfully defended the Forest Service as it manages our forest. We're also defending mining critical and strategic minerals, which is very important to our nation's security. We're cracking down on pesticide trafficking. And we are doing this by closing the southern border, working hand in hand with our great Kristi Noem, where illegal and highly toxic chemicals from Mexico were smuggled into the U.S., and the Department of Justice is prioritizing the arrest of those illegal aliens doing it. Additionally, our National Security Division is actively monitoring foreign threats to American agriculture. Last month in Michigan, this is very frightening, we charged 2 Chinese nationals for attempting to smuggle potential agro-terrorism weapons into the United States. Both of them have ties to the CCP. Just days later, we arrested another Chinese citizen for sending packages of concealed biological materials into the United States. It's going to stop. FBI has opened over 100 biosmuggling investigations in recent years. We will prosecute you. We will hold you accountable. Thank you to everyone who is here today, especially Secretary Rollins, Secretary Hegseth, all of our good friends, governors, my good friends, Governor Huckabee, and we will, all of us, will never back down from supporting our American farmers. God bless you, and God bless America.
Next, the incredible Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem, everyone.
Well, good morning, and I am so blessed and pleased to be here with Brooke, who is a dear friend of mine, and our hearts and prayers still continue to go out with Texas, and I'll be back down there in a few days to spend more time with them and to help them continue to heal and with recovery efforts. The one thing I wanted to share with all of you today is that long before I had the honor of serving as President Trump's Homeland Security Secretary, I was a farmer. I was a rancher. In fact, I've worked on food policy for over 30 years. And I recognize that food policy is national security policy. A country who cannot feed itself, cannot take care of itself, and cannot provide for itself is not secure. And that we have to be able to feed ourselves to make sure that no other country ever controls us. And I've watched for decades as evil foreign governments, including China, have come into this country and they've stolen our intellectual property. They've manipulated their currency. They've treated us unfairly in trade deals. They've come in and purchased up our processing companies, stolen our genetics. In fact, I've worked in this building off and on commissions and projects and laws and different statutes to ensure that China did not completely take control of our entire food supply chain, recognizing that the United States of America would be in jeopardy if that ever were to happen. I've watched them come in and establish a presence in stealing our chemicals, in providing our fertilizer for us. And so 2 years ago, when I served as governor of South Dakota, we passed a law in our state that said China and 6 other foreign evil governments would never own our farmland. And I'm very proud to say that in South Dakota, China does not own any of our land, nor will they ever own any of our land. While I served in Congress, I worked hard to put in programs that would help manage risk for farmers. I tell people all the time, farmers are the biggest gamblers that I know. They go to a bank oftentimes and they have to borrow money to buy land. Then they go back to the bank and they need machinery to work that land, and so they borrow some more money to do that. Then they have to go back and get an operating note to purchase seed and fertilizer, chemical potentially, and they put it in the dirt, and they hope that months later it'll rain, the sun will shine, and that there'll be something there that they can pick up, that they can sell, and then that the markets that are beyond their control, that there will be a price there that will help them cash flow so they can go back and do it all over again the next year. They do that so that they can feed this country, so that they can feed this world. In fact, growing up as a little girl and as a daughter of a farmer and a rancher, I always felt like God loved farmers more. I mean, if you look at the Bible, look at Scripture, and you look over and over again, he talks about sowing and reaping and cattle on 1,000 hills and your barns to overflowing. And so I feel like there's a special blessing on farmers. And the fact that we have a president and that we have a Secretary of Agriculture that recognizes the importance of food policy and what it means to this country's security is so wonderful. It's such a change from what the previous administration and how they prioritized our farmers and ranchers. So now as a Secretary... Now, as the Secretary of Homeland Security, I have responsibilities when it comes to securing our homeland. But many of those responsibilities have to do with securing our critical infrastructure. We have the responsibility for 10 of our 16 critical infrastructures, which means our electrical grid, our water supply chain, how we protect and run this country, and what we do to make sure the people here are safe, but not just the people, the products and goods that come in and out of this country. Our Customs and Border Protection units are the ones that all of our goods come into this country and leave this country on, and their investigations and how they inspect our ag products are critically important to make sure that we aren't facing any kind of threats from what kind of products may come into this country or what kind of terrorist acts might happen from goods that other countries may wish to send to us that would harm our food supply. We will continue to make sure that we have the systems in place, the people in place, the experts in place, and the policies in place to make sure that this country always feeds itself, and that we always have the ability to grow our own food, and that we rely on no one else to feed the people of the United States of America, because it is a national security issue when a country cannot provide for itself. And we will never let any other country control our food supply or control our people, because we will always be the great United States of America. Thank you.
Yeah, I was reminded when Christy was Governor Nome and we were at America First Policy, Christy, you and I did an event together on this very issue 3 years ago, and she, along with some of the other governors, really stepped up. So thank you, Secretary Nome. Next, a longtime friend, a partner from the first Trump administration, and someone who has been leading on this for years and years. Please help me welcome White House Counselor Peter Navarro.
What a beautiful day to be out here, and it's difficult, I think, for a lot of Americans to wrap their head around what we're talking about today. We're such a good and kind nation that has done so much for the rest of the world over so many decades, including fighting 2 world wars on behalf of the rest of the world. But this is so serious an issue. The Art of War, a book, Sun Tzu, centuries old, says that the acme of warfare is to win without firing a shot. You fast forward to a book that was written by 2 high-ranking military officials in China called Unrestricted Warfare. And you understand that we are indeed in a new world where kinetic warfare is not the first choice of our rivals anymore. Rather, it is things like sending us seeds or trying to steal our seeds or trying to change the seeds. It is acquiring our supply chain in agriculture. It's setting up spy shops on land next to military bases. Do you remember when that balloon, it was just a weather station? We seem so naive about so much of this, when in fact we have nations and bad actors trying to do bad things using our supply chains now as weapons. The world changed yet again on April 2nd when the Chinese embargoed critical minerals, not just on us, but for the rest of the world. The Russians now embargo things like neon and helium and uranium as a tool. So we must be clear-eyed about the threats, and I just have to congratulate Secretary Rollins for taking leadership on an issue which has been troublesome for years. And we have governors here, like Kristi Noem in South Dakota, just leadership on that. She was doing that before anybody was paying attention. We're going to hear from Governor Huckabee. Arkansas has led the way on this issue at the state level, even as the federal government has been silent about it up to this point. The last thing is big things like Smithfield Foods. I don't know if you know this, but this one really troubled me when it happened. But the Chinese bought Smithfield Foods and basically control about 1/8 of the world's pork supply now. And we worry, we've had food inflation. We worry when things happen that can be part of that. And then the other key purchase which we allowed them to do was Syngenta. Well, what is that? It's a seed company. And in a world of ever-changing pests and things like that, and climate differences about where water is and things like that, seeds really can be the revolution that keeps the world fed. And China now owns a key part of that. So what Secretary Rollins is doing today, it's a historic day. She's putting down the marker that the United States is no longer going to tolerate the attacks on our agricultural system, not just the land, but the supply chain as well. She deserves more than a hand. She deserves a helping hand here, and that's why the other aspects of our government are behind us as well. So I appreciate being here on this absolutely gorgeous day, and again, I commend the leadership of the people behind me. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Again, no one more of a warrior than he on these issues and many others, so thank you. Next, also from the first Trump administration now, the governor of the great state of Arkansas, who another leader in this area. Please help me welcome Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Good morning. It is incredible to be here and be joined with people who really understand what it means not just to love our country, but to be willing to do things that actually preserve, protect, and allow us to pass on what makes our country so great to the next generation. And that's exactly what you see in the collaboration of the people that are gathered behind me. I'm so proud of the fact that Arkansas was the first state in the country to kick a Chinese-owned company off of our farmland and out of our state, and we made them pay for it, very Trump-esque. And in the last couple of months, we've passed new legislation just this year allowing us to prohibit them from now not only owning farmland in our state, but from building or buying land around our military bases and critical infrastructure. It is something that has to happen and something that states have been leading the way on. But unfortunately, our states can't do it alone. That's why events like today matter so much. That's why leadership from people like Secretary Rollins matter so much. The fact that we now have a president who understands who our real enemies are and is willing to take them on is making a huge difference, not just in our country, but around the world. You know, we've talked a lot about today a country's ability to feed itself, but that's not the only place, and that's not the only role agriculture plays. A country has to be able to feed itself, fuel itself, and fight for itself to truly be free. And that's why what this group represents is every component of that. And we now have a president who understands it and is willing to do everything within his power to make sure the United States continues to be the greatest country on the face of the planet. And that doesn't happen by accident. That happens because we have great leadership. And I'm proud of the role that Arkansas has been able to play, but I'm more excited about the leadership that we now have in Washington that is going to take this to all 50 states and frankly all across the world. Having this group, there are no people I have greater confidence in. Secretary Hegseth leading the greatest military on the face of the planet, and nobody better suited to do so. He's tough, and I'm pretty sure he could take every member of the cabinet in an arm wrestling competition, but he's not the only tough one up here. There's no chance that China has going up against my friends Pam Bondi, Kristi Noem, and Brooke Rollins. They are not only the toughest women in Washington, they're some of the toughest people in all of America. And this group of people, under the leadership of President Trump, is not only going to protect our great country, but they're going to make sure that we have the ability to pass it on to the next generation behind us. I'm so grateful for their leadership, so thankful I get to be part of an effort that is going to make sure that the freedom of our country is protected and preserved for every single American to enjoy. Thank you for letting us be here, and thank you, Brooke, for putting this amazing event and this great plan together to help our country. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Governor Sanders. Also at the front of the battle, Governor Bill Lee of Tennessee. Please help me welcome him.
Thank you, Secretary Rollins. Let me just add my words of gratitude to President Trump and to his administration. And it's an honor to stand here with these great leaders. I have served as the governor originally in President Trump's first term, and then through the Biden administration, and now again in the Trump administration. During the years when President Trump was not in office, and governors like myself and Governor Sanders and Governor Pillen were working individually to secure our farmland. So in Tennessee, we have passed laws that prohibit ownership, that require divestment if found, that impose strict penalties for those foreign adversaries who take our property. We have also passed the Farmland Conservation Act in order to make it easier for the next generation of farmers to live and operate in our state. But that work was really hard in the previous Biden administration because we didn't have a partner who understood the threats and the challenges that we understand in Tennessee. So I'm so grateful for President Trump's leadership here, especially for Secretary Rollins' leadership, who she and I connected early on. My family is a multi-generational farming family as well. And I understand that when my grandfather was farming in Tennessee, the issues that we're talking about today didn't exist. But for my grandchildren who live on our family farm in Tennessee today, we understand that our farmland is not just dirt. It is our national security. It is our economic future. It is our children's heritage. And it is under threat. And the leaders here recognize that. And we've taken steps at the state level, but now, refreshingly, we have an administration and multiple cabinets who are coming together collaboratively with governors across the states and making sure that America's future is preserved for the next generations. Thank you.
Our first conversation, Governor Lee and mine, was not about how to save America. It was about our mutual love of Hereford cattle. So we are forever bonded. Listen, y'all, next, another great governor, great leader on this issue. Please help me welcome Governor Pillen of Nebraska.
Well, good morning, and just an incredible shout out to everybody in the cabinet and Brooke and her incredible leadership, and a great thank you for President Trump assembling what I view as extraordinary leaders across all of the cabinet to absolutely make America great in a special, special place. This is very, very touching for me to have the opportunity to be here. I'm the 41st governor of Nebraska. I'm the first governor that's made my living from agriculture in 100 years. I have simply sat and looked in my career of over 40 years and saying, what on earth is going on with China? I believe this. I believe in family farm security. I believe in food security, and that equates to national security. Nebraska is doing its fair share. I believe we need to do more than our fair share. So our first year in 23, we were able to pass legislation that took all Chinese equipment off of all telecommunications across the state. That was the first step. Second step was making sure that no land is purchased by any foreign adversaries in the state of Nebraska. Third step is simply that we have direct conversations with companies that are from China. Peter Syngenta called me, wanted to come to the Capitol and have a meeting, and I said I have no interest in having a meeting, have no interest in you being in Nebraska. My suggestion would be to leave. My suggestion would be to get a different job. I'm really, really proud to announce that Syngenta has sold their business in Nebraska to a family-owned genetic company from the United States. So we're really excited about that. I think that what is really, really important is I think back on 40 years of things that have gone on that has never made sense. It's really important that the leaders behind me, that we continue to have the courage and the wisdom to never back down and to stand up and protect our land and protect our families, because we all in agriculture risk. We talk about gambling, Christy, we all risk everything we have every single day to put food on the grocery stores. And then lastly, I'm really, really excited about Secretary Rollins and her understanding and work in terms of foreign animal disease, because that's another risk where adversaries could have a great impact. These are issues that are really, really important, and none of us can ever give up. It's a privilege to be here. Thank you.
Now, Senator Tommy Tuberville from the great state of Alabama.
Damn, she didn't call me coach. I always look for a day like this when I was coaching. I'd work the hell out of them, and then we'd line up down there in the parking lot and just run for about an hour, you know. Just think about it right now, though. Our farmers every day go out in this every morning to scratch the ground to try to make a living and try to feed all of us in this country. They're very important. I'm on the Ag Committee, Armed Services Committee. I've seen it all. I'm not a politician. I've been on the front row and been able to watch the devastation of our farming community in the last 4 years under the Democrat, Socialist, Communist Biden party. It was devastating. Input cost high, $5 diesel. Instead of a $700,000 cotton picker, they're $1.5 million. They wanted to put our farmers under. We lost 150,000 farms and 25,000 farmers in the last few years. Folks, we are in trouble in ag, really trouble. And we just tried to help them with reference prices in the big, beautiful bill we just passed, but they're going to need a lot of help. They are scratching and clawing just to make a living. Thanks for Brooke putting this on. China is a threat. They're not a threat. They are dominating us in almost everything that they do, because we've set back and the politicians have been counting their money instead of doing what's right and helping this country stay in the front. We've got to be number one. We can't be number two. We've got to fight back. They are coming into our country and buying our farmland. In my state of Alabama alone, they own 2.2 million acres of farmland. That's right, in Alabama. Foreign adversaries. It's embarrassing of what we've done. Now, don't blame the farmers. The farmers have to make a living, and if they can't make a living, they have to sell their farmland. The Biden administration forced our farmers to sell their farmland by all the things they did to them. It's a disgrace. Brooke is going to bring that back. President Trump's going to bring that back. The one thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to pass the Farm Act, Foreign Adversaries Act. What is that? We have a group in this country called CFIUS. CFIUS is a group of cabinet members that determine who buys what if it's a foreign sale. I mean, they all get together and they look at it, whether it's a steel company, whether it's farmland, whether it's some kind of business. That's what CFIUS does. And it's made up of high-ranking cabinet members in the White House. Who is not on there? The Secretary of Agriculture. What the hell are we doing? I mean, how far behind are we? We have to get the Secretary of Agriculture on CFIUS to protect our farmland. If we don't do it, we're going to continue to lose at the end of the day. So thanks for being here. In a few minutes, we'll line up down in this end zone, and we're going to start running this way until I get tired of watching. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Oh, Coach, thank you so much. Next up, Senator Roger Marshall, then Chairman G.T. Thompson of the House will close it out, and then we'll answer a few questions. Please help me welcome Senator Roger Marshall.
Well, good morning, everybody. America's abundant food supply is not guaranteed. It's a strategic asset we must fiercely protect. Farm and ranch security is national security, and I'm proud today to share how Kansas is at the heart of this mission. Today, we tell China to get the hell out of American agriculture. Today, China, here's your ticket. Do not pass go. Get the hell out of American agriculture. And the Trump administration is going to lead the way. Now, I want to start by just thanking Secretary Rollins, and maybe we can help you get some Angus cattle someday for your farm. But I do want to thank Secretary Rollins and President Trump and his administration for his unwavering commitment to our farmers, our ranchers, and rural America. The big reconciliation bill we just passed exemplifies this support. It strengthened the farm safety net, including increased reference prices. It makes key business tax deductions permanent and doubles the estate tax exemption up to $30 million for couples and streamlines the 45Z tax credit. Folks, 45Z is going to do more for agriculture than all the soybeans and sorghum we sold to China in the past 5 years. This bill empowers our agriculture communities and secures our family farms for generations to come. Now, as a fifth-generation farm kid, I learned how agriculture underpins our economic stability, our public health, our national defense, our geopolitical autonomy, and our rural way of life. It contributes $1.5 trillion to GDP and supports over 22 million jobs, yet we often take it for granted. Our farmers, our ranches, our food supply chains face grave threats, specifically bioterrorism, procurement disruptions, and foreign ownerships. A virus like COVID, which was made in a lab, could target our beef and dairy cattle industry next, or a fungus could devastate our wheat and our corn. Whether it's from nature or made in a laboratory by a foreign adversary, these risks demand vigilance. Let me share how Kansas is leading the fight. We're proud to host the Animal Health Corridor that stretches from Columbia, Missouri to Manhattan, Kansas, the Little Apple, to Lincoln, Nebraska, where cutting-edge research thrives. And why in the world we let scientists from foreign adversaries in those experiments and in those laboratories, I'll never know. And why we're doing research with American dollars in those foreign countries of threats, I'll never know either. I want to thank President Trump. In his first term, he welcomed the USDA's Economic Research Service and National Institute of Food and Agriculture to Kansas City, which complements the National Bioagro Defense Facility in Manhattan. This synergy makes Kansas a global hub for agriculture innovation. Our strength lies in our collaboration. By uniting public and private sectors with land-grant universities like my alma mater, the fighting, ever-fighting, mighty Wildcats of Kansas State University, we're building a resilient food supply. There you go, Coach Tuberville. Let's go Wildcats. I want to just commend the Department of Defense and all the agencies up here today for your joint efforts to combat diseases like avian influenza, screwworm, and foot and mouth, protecting our farmers and communities. And finally this, let me just concur with Coach Tuberville that I'm going to champion for the Secretary of Agriculture to be part of CFIUS. President Trump could appoint her, and Congress can make that legal for years to come as well. That's the best way to counter these emerging threats. Think about it. China right now owns land next to Whiteman Air Force Base, where our B-2s were launched that did just a spectacular job of, yes, obliterating Iran's nuclear armament. They own land next to Fort Riley, Kansas, home of the Big Red 1 1st Infantry Division as well. We need someone who thinks agriculture when they wake up in the morning and they go to bed and they think of agriculture as national security. Again, we can't take our food supply for granted. Kansas is leading the way, but it takes a national resolve to protect our farms, to fortify our biosecurity, and keep America's food in Americans' hands. Thank you so much. God bless us. Have a great day.
Thank you. Quick announcement, as of this afternoon, I will be officially a member of CFIUS, so that is happening. Yeah. It's an incredible team at USDA and our great Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. Finally, from the amazing agriculture state of Pennsylvania and chair of the House Agriculture Committee, please help me welcome G.T. Thompson.
Good morning, everybody. What a glorious day. A great day for making hay, and a great day for making history. For making history in terms of making sure that we are taking these next steps to secure both farm security and food security, which quite frankly is national security. As chairman of the House Agriculture Committee, I'm so appreciative to President Trump, to Secretaries Rollins, Hegseth, and Nome, as well as Attorney General Bondi for their recognition that food security is national security. In the Agriculture Committee's preparation for the Farm Food and National Security Act, we identified threats to food security impacting America's #1 and most essential industry, which is agriculture. Our farmers are on the front lines of food security, and that is essential to our national security. America's farm families are facing serious challenges, from foreign threats to our farmland and the theft of our intellectual property, to high energy costs driven by out-of-control inflation from the previous administration, market instability, poor SNAP integrity, crushing taxes, extreme weather, and an often unreliable workforce. All of these make life harder for America's farm, ranch, and forestry families, and jeopardizes our country's food security. I want to thank President Trump for using every tool at his disposal to make America's food supply safer. The One Big Beautiful Bill included a historic investment in our agriculture value chain, including provisions from the Bipartisan Farm Food and National Security Act. The One Big Beautiful Bill includes investments to strengthen our livestock biosecurity from foreign animal disease, as well as delivers major tax relief, shields the next generation of farmers from the death tax, supports affordable energy policies that keep family farms running and food prices low. It includes historic integrity measures for the SNAP program and so much more. But there's still a lot of work left to be done. On behalf of the House Agriculture Committee, I look forward to partnering with Secretary Rollins and others across the administration on this important initiative. Farm and food security is national security. Thank you to President Trump and this dynamic cabinet team for your commitment and your leadership. God bless and thank you so much.
Okay, everyone, we're going to open it up for some questions. I would note that while we were standing here and all of you were sitting there, it's too bad Secretary Bobby Kennedy's not here because we're all getting a lot of vitamin D today. So we'll let him know. He'd be very proud. All right, we'll take some questions from the press.
Thank you, Secretary Rollins. Mary Margaret with the Daily Wire. 2 questions, if that's okay. First of all, I'm seeing on this map that there's a lot of Chinese-owned farmland in California. Are you looking into the severity of that and what those consequences are? And then number 2, the president has expressed concerns about how mass deportations would affect the farm industry. Do you have concerns on this front? And are you hearing about some of these top conservatives saying that there's a push for amnesty for this workforce?
Well, thank you for those questions. The first thing I'll say on California, and I'd love for anyone else to join me if they have thoughts on that, is this, that a lot of people said, well, look at the red states are the ones leading the way. The red states are the ones that are banning the Chinese-owned farmland, and this is true. But I have to believe that even the Democrat governors and even the blue states realize what a massive threat this is to national security and how important it is. So we plan to work with everyone, no matter which party, no matter which side of the aisle they're from, to ensure that the people of this country and our agriculture farmland is protected. The second question, I appreciate you bringing that up. There's been a lot of noise in the last few days and a lot of questions about where the president stands in his vision for farm labor. The first thing I'll say is the president has been unequivocal that there will be no amnesty, and I think that's very, very important. I and the rest of our cabinet certainly support that, effectuate that, and make sure that happens every single day. The second thing, to your question about mass deportations, the president and I have spoken about that once or twice, and he has always been of the mindset that at the end of the day, the promise to America to ensure that we have a 100% American workforce stands, but we must be strategic in how we are implementing the mass deportation so as not to compromise our food supply. Ultimately, the answer on this is automation, also some reform within the current governing structure, and then also when you think about there are 34 million able-bodied adults in our Medicaid program. There are plenty of workers in America, but we just have to make sure we're not compromising today, especially in the context of everything we're thinking about right now. So no amnesty under any circumstances. Mass deportations continue, but in a strategic and intentional way as we move our workforce toward more automation and toward a 100% American workforce. And ultimately, it's the wonderful members of Congress behind me who are taking this on the fixing the current immigration system. So thank you so much.
Madam Secretary, thank you. First of all, condolences, thoughts, and prayers to all the folks back in Texas. It is near and dear to your heart. A couple quick thoughts. Congratulations on the success of getting at least partially, the death tax repealed in the BBB, because, as we all know, it affects farmers disproportionately to a great extent. Congratulations on that. Also, egg prices today, just right now, hit $2.49 a dozen. A clear 55% below the failed Bidenomics egg price. And we all know it's not just about eggs, but it has become a metaphor for inflation. So congratulations, because food inflation is coming down. That's a testament to you.
Thank you.
The thought and the question follow-up is, what a great group you put together here. Wonderful, wonderful idea. Surprising it hasn't been done sooner here. So the question is, has President Trump talked to you about this group, number one? And I guess equally as important, have the Chinese government, either officially or unofficially, reached out to you about this program?
So the first thing I'll say, and I appreciate that so much. Who are you with?
It's Eric Bowling. I'm with
That's
the
right.
Bowling Show.
Eric, thank you. And with the Bowling Show, it's great to have you, and thank you for making your way. I would like to note, and it's not lost on you, Eric, but I want to make sure everyone understands, this cabinet and this administration is different. That in previous administrations, I don't know that you would ever see 4 cabinet secretaries, a counselor to the president, one of the most steadfast, loyal patriots who've stood beside him, Peter Navarro, ever come out together on a morning in 100-degree weather and talk about agriculture farmland. But we are all in this together, and the president has been resolute in ensuring that we do everything that needs to be done to protect the homeland. So I'm very, very proud of that. On the second question, I don't want to get ahead of the president, so I won't answer that. One of the chief lessons I've learned over many years is never get ahead of President Trump. But there is no doubt that he, our cabinet, our administration, our friends across the country are acutely aware of this issue and doing everything we can to solve for it. Eric, thank you for being here. Next question.
Thank you, Secretary Rollins, Jackson Richmond at the Epoch Times. Was Secretary Rubio consulted on this, given the national security aspect of this, and then was the CDC consulted, given the bioterrorism aspect of this?
Yes, all of the above were consulted. To get to this point, a little bit of sausage making for everyone. It's not just we throw an event together and here we all are. The layers and layers and layers of work to go through all of the agencies is of utmost importance. And what I have learned now in a little bit of my time in government is that often, and this is the reason you don't see the ball moving down the field very often, the amount of effort it takes to integrate and work, and the long nights and the sleepless nights, especially by our team, our incredible Chief of Staff, Kaylee Buller, is the one who's really been driving this alongside the rest of our team, is really inspiring. So yes, they've all been consulted. Everyone has been incredibly supportive to get to this point today. But what I would like to say as well, and thank you for that question, is that this is just the beginning. Today is the first step to get us to this announcement as we begin this important work. You'll be hearing a lot from us on this over the next 4 years, and some real metrics in place that we're putting, like how do we measure our success? And I think that's what makes this administration different. So thank you for being here. Love the Epoch Times. And next question.
Yes, Philip Rasher with AgriPulse. I wanted to have two questions. One, following up on the immigration question. The president has continually said that he wants to give farmers some kind of temporary pass. Could you define what he means by temporary pass? Does that mean ICE won't go onto farms for a certain period? What does he mean by that? The second question is, what are you going to do at USDA with regard to the remaining property owned by Syngenta and Smithfield Foods, which is a large portion of this Chinese-owned land?
That's right. Well, the second question first, as we discussed earlier, and Mr. Navarro, again, and he and his team over at the White House, amongst many others, we are looking at every available option. There are multiples of options. You'll likely see an executive order on this very soon from the White House, and we'll be looking at multiple different authorities within the federal government to begin to claw that back. So that's what I'll say about that. Again, I think I answered the second question, where we are on farm labor, a little bit earlier, but what I will say is that Lori Chavez de Rimmer is our Secretary of Labor, and the H-2A visa program, all of the programs that inure to moving in seasonal ag workers are under Secretary Chavez de Rimmer. She has been working around the clock with her team. I think we'll probably hear a little bit more about this today, and the conversations will continue. But I can't underscore enough, there will be no amnesty. The mass deportations continue, but in a strategic way, and we move the workforce towards automation and 100% American participation, which again, with 34 million people, able-bodied adults on Medicaid, we should be able to do that fairly quickly. Thank you.
One more question.
Hi, thanks for doing this. Kate Goodell with the Washington Post. I'm wondering if you can perhaps spell out some of the specific threats that we're seeing with Chinese farmland at the moment. I also wanted to ask about the legislative efforts and what form the executive action might take and whether you have a timeline.
Well, first on American farmland, and I'd love for Peter to add to this, and if anyone else would like to as well. When you look at the chart, which is behind our, by the way, our new Deputy Secretary Stephen Vaden started yesterday from the great state of Tennessee, Governor Lee. You can see on this chart the hundreds of thousands, and by the way, this is just China-owned. This is not other countries of concern owned, such as North Korea, Russia, Iran, and others. You can see that a lot of those, the red blocks, are actual military bases. And ultimately, when we're talking about national security, that is, I think, the number one concern, certainly of this administration, is what's happening there as we're looking at the threats that this country is facing, but specifically through agriculture is really, really important. Peter, I don't know if you want to add to that.
And thanks for asking that question. If you look at the gradations of threat, that's the most obvious. I mean, how did we let that happen? How did we let that happen? And Siphius, Greek word, I think, for like doing nothing, right? But not during the Trump administration. And I can tell you, if nothing else happened today, having Brooke Rollins on that board, give her a hand. That's a big deal. But if you look at if you look at the concept here of unrestricted warfare that I talked a little about earlier, it's not just the idea that you can surveil troop movements, flights, all the things you would worry about just from a pure national security view. But you remember when they arrested the Chinese spies on the Iowa farmland? You all remember that? I mean, that was another turning point in our awareness, where they were, so if they're owning the farmland, they have access to all of they're going to get the seeds that way too. And so ultimately, the other thing they want to do is, which is why they bought Smithfield Foods. I don't know if you know this, but China consumes 50% of the pork in the world. Did you know this? That's astonishing. I think we got the corner on Kentucky Fried Chicken, but they cornered the part. So when they acquire Smithfield Foods and the entire pork chain, it's like that becomes a weapon in and of itself. So the more land they acquire here, the more control they have. And it's a business model. I mean, we're the United States, but they treat us like a colony. They do the same damn thing down in Zambia with tobacco. And around all of Africa, they buy land, they bring in Chinese workers to work the land, and then they ship the food back to China, and the people around starve or pay higher prices. So when you ask us, what's this about? It's about everything. Food security is national security. Thank you.
I'm going to make a comment if you don't mind. So, to me, the Chinese owning land is just a small piece of the puzzle. I'm much more concerned about the food supply down the road here. That right now, foreign entities own about a fifth of the protein processing. Between beef and pork, JBS and Smithfield own about a fifth, maybe a fourth of the protein processing in this entire country. That's just wrong. I think beyond that, it's the intellectual property theft. It's the Chinese scientists that are in our own universities and research that are stealing intellectual property. It wasn't too long ago they were taking rice seeds from my alma mater. The Attorney General mentioned something up in Michigan. It's that constant threat. But what really keeps me awake, the real threat to me, the biggest, is bioterrorism. If you could imagine a COVID-like virus made in a laboratory in Wuhan, China, that could infect all the hogs of the world, but you had an mRNA vaccine that could protect your own hogs, what would that do to our world's food supply? That's what keeps me up, and that's why I'm a big proponent of the work being done at NBAT, the National Agro Research Defense Facility in Manhattan, Kansas as well. I think that's the biggest active threat that I see is bioterrorism.
I think Senator Marshall really put a nice overview on the different threats. Really, you know, American agriculture, I think, is defined as science, technology, and innovation. And all those are amazing. It defines agriculture today, but it also leads the way for agriculture over the horizon for the future. But it can be very vulnerable if we don't protect that. And in the past, we haven't provided protections for that. The science, the technology, the innovation that comes out of this great country, out of this essential industry. And I think the fact that today we're declaring that food security is national security, farm security is a part of that. I think this is a great milestone of making sure that we're protecting all of that for the future. America needs we always want America to be in the lead, no matter what we're talking about. But certainly when it comes to the thing that is probably most essential, and that is food and fiber, energy materials, building resources, all the things that come off that rural agriculture acreage, we have a duty and responsibility to make sure that those things are secure. So, Secretary, thank you for your leadership and vision on this. Much appreciated.
Timing is coming very soon. We'll continue to announce further steps to answer your final question. Listen, everyone, thank you so much for being here. It's really, really an honor to have you all here at the People's Department. Abraham Lincoln founded this department in 1862 to ensure that the American farmers and ranchers and rural prosperity, rural way of life was represented here in Washington. So thank you, and everyone can gather over on the right for Coach Tuberville's next workout. All right, thank you guys so much. Thank you.